Hello, welcome back to Once the Force of Stars podcast. My name's Phil, of course. I'm joined, as usual, by Dave and George. Good evening, gentlemen, and welcome to our spoiler-filled review of Episode 9.
This is absolutely that, and welcome to you two guys. It's, again, weird being a trilogy of screens rather than actually being in the same room, which was really lovely to be at the cinema together. But yeah, so look, before we go anywhere, you'll see it across the bottom of the screen if you're watching live, and you've seen it in the title. I can't put this any more than it is. This is a spoiler episode. We will be going through the last Skywalker? Oh, nearly. The Rise of Skywalker in detail. We'll be talking about characters. We'll be talking about how the ending. We will spoiler. If you haven't not seen this movie, that's stupid. Go watch the movie. Don't listen to us talk about it. I can't wait to get into it. But yes, spoilers. One more time, spoilers.
Yeah, and I think as well, we're gonna we've got some viewpoints. We have a mini schedule we're gonna go through. We've got all of you guys in the comments. I can see some stuff I want to address as well. I'm sure we should make room for comments at some point. I know I'll just kind of put you two on the spot with that. But we're here to talk the film. Everyone in the comments is aware these are spoilers, so comment whatever the hell you want to comment. We're here for the discussion points. We're not hiding it anymore. I've finished Fallen Order this time, so if anyone wants to spoil that, they're more than welcome to. But yes, it's happened. We have all recovered, I think, from sleep.
Just about, yeah.
Just about.
We've had a very, very busy few days. Not gonna lie, one of us was here 20 hours longer than the others. But we can talk about that in a bit. I just want to say, Episode 9, it was nice to be back with you two. It was nice to be in the same room. I interfered right into Force Awakens and just walked in and said hello there to Dave. Fuming to see it was in 3D when it should have been in 2D, but hey ho. But no, we were all at the triple bill together. We were at the BFI IMAX. Even better than Star Wars, we got a prologue to the Christopher Nolan trailer, and I'm one of probably 5 that was like clapping as his name was mentioned in hearing. But no, it was good fun to watch with you all.
Indeed, it was. Sorry, go on, Dave.
No, I was going to say it was an amazing experience after saying I hadn't been in the room with these two guys together since Celebration. So it was a long day. It was building up the atmosphere, getting towards I got lost on the tube. That was fun.
Yes, you did.
Lost in London, but that was fine. I'm a northerner. That's what happens. But
Yeah,
it was the big build up, getting into the cinema, and then getting this IMAX screen. And I mean, I'll just say it now. It's the biggest screen in Europe. They said I'd never been in an IMAX that size, and it is in your face. This is a big screen. I was quite taken aback by it, but what a build up! What a day we had of getting there and then starting the triple bill. I was so up for it.
I mean, yeah. I missed Force Awakens. I was at the premiere doing the blue carpet for this one. If anyone wants a bit of context, everyone knows like my autographs, my photos. I began queuing at 11 a.m. on the Tuesday morning. The premiere started at 6 o'clock the following day. You had to stay overnight in the streets in Soho, full of drunkards, weirdos, builders, everything. It was a long. Yes, that was the It was a long day. But it came out all right. The premiere was done. The rain came down, and I ran. Well, I didn't really run. We just got ourselves in the tube ASAP to get back to the hotel to freshen ourselves up and go and watch the films. And as predicted, missed Force Awakens, which meant I got to see The Last Jedi on a giant IMAX again. What a time to be alive.
Indeed. So I'll reiterate what the guys have said. It was fantastic to actually be with them. So I've seen both George and Dave individually over the last 3 years. So Dave for the Force Friday in 2017, and George and I have caught up at various cons throughout the last 3 years. But we all haven't been in the same room since Star Wars Celebration in 2016. So apart from the film itself, was what I was looking forward to, but it was more actually in general looking forward to seeing these two. Of course, being there in front of a 26 by 20 meter gigantic screen was awesome for Force Awakens: The Last Jedi, for where we're sat. Unfortunately, and definitely to no fault of George, there's all to do with the BFI and how they screwed us up for the tickets. Moving us to that corner for the Rise of Skywalker wasn't probably conducive to a good viewing for that first time around. But as we've all seen it at least 2 times by now. I think it's a 2 apiece, because I know my third viewing got moved. So I know Dave, you did it twice, George twice.
I'm on thrice now. I've done it. I did my 3rd time last night.
Mm-hmm.
I have a 4th one booked a week on Sunday, but it's whether I can get there a little bit earlier, because 8 days feels like a long time away. But we will discuss if I can hold that time over the next hour, whatever we do, because should we just go for it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hey,
so
this is our first impressions. I'm going to do my first impression of my first screening, and I'm not going to go into specific details. I'm just going to, this is what I felt like. Me walking out of the cinema, before I walked out of the cinema, the credits were nice and up loud. Bullshit. I was not happy. I think I turned to Dave halfway through the film and whispered, I've got no idea what's going on anymore. I don't think the size of the screen helped. For this one, as much as I love IMAX, where we were placed, I don't think that helped at all. I didn't like my first viewing. It was going at 100 miles an hour. I didn't mind that. I loved seeing the cast together very quickly. But I did not like a big twist, and that really put a downer on me for the rest of the film. However, I slept on it, and I was like, I'm not going to give an honest opinion until I've seen it a second time. So my first, I'm so sorry, I realized I swore as well. I didn't mean to.
You get one. You get one every video. That's fine.
Yeah. It just the first time I didn't click to me. That it grew on the others.
Phil, do you want to go with your first impression?
Indeed, because mine was again the complete opposite. So I was sat next to someone at the same time. I was, I turned to Dave at the end of the film. I had tears streaming down my face. I loved it my first view. I had issues, but I walked out of it. And I turned around to Dave and said, wait, and Dave said to me, and he will say this in a minute, said, wait, you actually enjoyed that? I said, yes. Did you not? I was like, no. Oh. For me, completely different. I mean, I walked out of my second experience loving it even more. But okay, so some of the issues were solved in my head. But I walked out of it going, I have issues. I have a lot of issues, but at the same time, absolutely loved it. I love certain beats we're going to get to later on in the video. Yes, this is a spoiler-filled video, so we will be talking about them. But for now, I'm just going to say, yeah, there were beats that I had issues with. There were story points I didn't like. But I walked out of it got buzzing so much that those two went to bed, and I sat with a friend of mine in the bar until 5:30, 5:45 in the morning, just talking about it because it was just too much to digest. And I think that was the problem, not only being the size of the screen it was, where we were located, the film also had far too much to take in on that first viewing for me.
And I was very much with George. I did not enjoy this movie first time I came out of there. I didn't get emotional at it. It didn't hit the right spots with me. I was not expecting to feel the way I felt when I left that initial midnight screening. And after my second viewing, don't you worry, I've got great things to say. I love this movie now. But when I came out this first screening, initial thought, did not enjoy, but that changed. And I think there's reasons behind it. So I will say that obviously to get down to London, I traveled from Newcastle. So it's like, that was a 4-hour drive, then a train ride, then getting lost in London, then getting to the cinema, then watching 2 movies beforehand, then this one just starting at midnight. And I just think, and like I said, the IMAX was very big and where we sat wasn't perfect for the look at the screen. So I think it all added up for me to not have the best experience. But yeah, a second viewing very much changed. But first impression, did not like.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the it wasn't the entire general consensus between all of us that were there, because George had a friend with us as well.
He shared my opinion, though. He also did not.
He did, yes. But between us, we all had beats we didn't like. But there were some bits we were like, okay, this is good. But yeah, moving it forward though, that was our very kind of first impression. Walking out, second impression, but we'll get to the end of it. For what we liked most, what we didn't like, and our overall impression. But yeah, that was our impressions walking out of the cinema. First of all, let's just talk about the story. I think, George, you're going to be probably the best one to break this down in a decent way.
Yeah, so the main story is the Emperor's alive. How? We don't know. We won't know, and we'll never know. The Emperor's alive. Take it in. He has children. We take that in too. We'll find out his granddaughter soon enough. Basically, the crux of the story is that Kylo Ren is looking for a space sat-nav, and he needs to get to the Emperor, and he is going to create the second version of the Emperor, the Final Order. Rey needs to also find him. The Emperor is alive. Big battle. It's very vague. It's MacGuffin-filled. I don't know. I don't want to break it down like fully because you don't really need to. The essential of the story is literally they both need to get to the. It's just a really obvious and annoying story of get to A to B to C to D, done. Yeah, not what I expected from a film that spent 9 months hiding its plot from everybody, to have a plot so basic and not in your face, but more so going 100 miles an hour. Yeah. Anyone else's thoughts? Is that fair?
No, I think it is fair that we do. It's a very basic 2 characters, no Palpatines there. They're both looking for him. They have different reasons to want to get to him. And then we have, obviously, then the resolve of what we've been going through with our 2 main protagonists, which is Kylo and Rey. So you have not the side plots. There are missions, obviously, to get where they're going. But you're right. This is a lot of information packed into the 2 hours and 25 minutes that we've got. We start off with a bang. Kylo is looking. One thing I'd love to say, if anyone is obviously if you watch this movie, if you haven't and you listen to this, then go and do that now. But Kylo is on Mustafar. Not mentioned, and he's actually in the ruins of Vader's castle. That's where he finds the actual. It's not. I'm going to go with sat nav because George said now it's in your head.
The Wayfinder. The Sith
Wayfinder. Thank you. The Sith Wayfinder.
It's a holocron. It's a holocron. Why have they renamed it?
It's the Sith TomTom. It's Sith TomTom. So they've got that, and yeah, that's supposed to be the ruins of Vader's castle, which is not kind of given to you. It's in the DK book, I believe, that George has. It tells you that's supposed to be the ruins of Vader's castle in Mustafar. Would have been lovely to get some context on that. But a lot of things I think would have been nice to get a bit more context on. We don't, but that's, you know what, doesn't kind of ruin the film for me anymore. It's a lot to take in your first viewing. I would certainly recommend anyone goes and watches this movie more than once. Don't just go in, say, not for me, and go out. Go back. Really give it a second viewing without that. I put a post up earlier on my Twitter just saying, look, go at this film, leave the critical adult head outside, look at this with that child who loves Star Wars. It's about spaceships and laser swords and magic, and I loved it. And I think that's the best thing I can advise people to do that way. But yeah, sorry, getting back to the plot, I think you're perfectly right. It is very linear. That's where you're going to go. That's where we're getting to. Let's cram as much story in this last section as we can. Phil, do you think the same?
Yeah, in a way. I mean, we have touched about this in our own private chat. We haven't talked about this yet on a video, but of course, JJ had the very difficult task of tying up this sequel trilogy plus the overall arc of the saga, plus creating an ending. There was a lot of things he had to do. There's a lot of pieces he had to get right, and to make it in that 2 hours and 35 minutes, I think a basic plot line helps to kind of just filter out some of the stuff you don't need and just get to the here's your A, here's your B, here's your C, here's your D, here's your E, because here are so many plot lines you have to tie together. Again, Mustafar was one of those things. Context would have been great. The opening crawl is the one bit I have issue with just when you start stuff the film, because it leaves you going, hang on a second, before you've even got into the film. That opening crawl it gives you information, but not enough. And you're left with a question in your head before you've even begun the film. I think that's part of the issue there. But yeah, I don't mind the linear plot line. In a way, I think it helped get the story to where it needs to go, and it helped get the ending to where it is. You have to tie everything up with a neat bow. You can't walk out with questions of the ending. There are questions you can have about the story itself and about characters and other pieces. We will talk about that because I think we all have some questions. However, the ending itself but he has to tie it all up. There is no way about it. It is also a space fantasy film. At the end of the day, it's fantasy. You have to go into that with that mentality of, everything will miraculously be okay at the end of it, as long as you're okay with that. It's a great film. There are other points that we absolutely love, and we will get to. There are many character arcs, and the one that is very interesting, of course, is Rey's arc. Ren, something we talked about on our prediction show, and I will get to that. But Rey, first off, we might as well go into it again. Just before I say this, if you haven't noticed our ticker tape going spoilers down the bottom, if you haven't been paying attention this far into the video, we are 15 minutes in. What are you doing? Because this will spoil the biggest part of all, of course. It's Rey Palpatine. She is Palpatine's granddaughter. Something that if you had told us probably a year ago, you wouldn't believe. That's very far-fetched. However, of course, getting through the film, I was okay with it. This is the bone of contention I know a few people have. But guys, thoughts on Rey's arc through this film?
Bull. I'm not swearing.
No, I'm actually, I'm all right with it as well. I'm with Phil on this one. I love the moment where we kind of get the first inkling that she is a part of the team. Her and Kylo are trying to wrestle a ship to the floor, both using the Force. Kylo technically in this movie, I would say, very much stronger than Rey in all ways. I mean, when they're fighting on Death Star 2, he is way above her in terms of her skill. From where she was when they first fought in The Force Awakens, and she beat him quite easily just by hearing the words Force in her head and thinking about it, to this film where she was totally overpowered by Kylo Ren. He was massively above her, and I thought it was quite a big change in their style. I thought that she would take him out quite quickly from what we'd had previously, but not to be the case. But yeah, so the wrestling trying to bring the ship to the ground, and she gets angrier and angrier, and then it happens. She fires Force lightning out of her hand and blows up a shuttle, a lander, which the troops came down on, and also at that point makes you believe that she's killed Chewbacca. She hasn't, but makes you believe that. If I did see somewhere in the comments, actually, someone had said that they hadn't seen the. Here it is, just from Horowitz. I still haven't spotted the second transport the Chew's on. The very first part of that scene, where it comes down and scans to the troopers arriving, it's right on the very far side of the screen, the second transport. So you do see it, but very briefly and only the once. But yeah, so it is there and hinted at.
You get it twice. So the beginning of the Emperor's not attack, but when the Emperor come down on the planet, there are two transporters. And then when Finn's watching Chewbacca being put in the prison, put into it, there are two ships.
Yeah.
And then he just shouts the first one that flies off.
Yeah.
Which, again, rewatch helped that. Going into that with Rey, and I'm jumping ahead, I didn't mind the arc. It's not the story I feel was my issue. I loved what you mentioned. The Force lightning is one of the best things. I love that scene. I love the flip. I like how powerful she is. My issue comes with her family lineage and what was so much better done in Last Jedi, which we will get to. But her arc itself was fine. I like Daisy Ridley in these films. I like watching Rey's character. She's a great character. She's a good lead for these films. And she has the most interesting character dynamics with Kylo Ren, which has been, Force Awakens. It kind of touched upon those two, not as a Reylo, but as here's two powerful people. But Episode 8 developed maybe one of the most intense, well-written sort of character dynamics. I said this before, I think, on our predictions video, that, you look at Episode 7, 1 to 3, 4 to 6, you look at the main trios, the trio of heroes. For this trilogy, it's felt like a duo. It's felt like it's Rey and Ren. It's felt like their trilogy. And this film certainly carried on with that. We're going to talk about, obviously, the other guys. Love seeing the trio together. It
was more the fact they also identify in the film, say, we are Dyad and we are two parts of the Force. They even focus in on it. I love that. I think it's a very good bit of story writing.
I mean, when you got Adam Driver, do not waste him. That's you've not only has Lucasfilm casted one of who's turned out to be one of the, in the 6 years since he's been cast, one of the best actors in the world. As Ryan Johnson said, you write these scenes for him that only he himself can do. I know I'm kind of jumping into talking about Kylo now, not Rey, but I actually really enjoyed Rey's character arc. It's just the overhanging issue of the entire film, and I will get to it, is just everything about Palpatine. I understand her being an offspring of someone, why is she so powerful? There's your answer. It's just it makes the universe feel so much smaller. That's grinding.
What I like in comparing Kylo and Rey, and then Ben and Rey by the time you get to the end, is the fact that the angrier she gets, the sloppier she gets, the more undisciplined she gets. She's at the start of the film, you see her training, you see her kind of, you now find out Leia is her master, you find out she's trying to do this properly, but the more you get into the film, the angrier she gets, the more she just gives in to the dark side. So what I said in our predictions video, I wanted her to turn completely. Now, it didn't get to that point, but I wanted her to turn to the dark side. And I wanted Ben to be completely redeemed. We'll get onto those beats later. But I loved her development from going from someone who didn't know their place in the world to finding their place and not being happy with their place, but at the same time going, okay, this is how I have to deal with this. And even at the end of it, she's so conflicted when she is there with Palpatine going, if I sacrifice myself, I can save my friends. It's very much that same choice that the Emperor placed to Luke. And it's very interesting to see what she did with it.
It was a really nice move. I mean, we're kind of covering Palpatine at the same time. So he is in this. I guess he's our big bad of the series, not the series of this movie. Certainly, for him to come in and be, you know what, he's really. It's a bizarre one because when you find out that she's his granddaughter, that obviously gives you more questions than you get answers to the rest of the movie. But it was really nice to kind of see why she was as powerful as she was, and I'm guessing that just comes through while she's trying out this new powers. It's obviously, like George mentioned, when she's leaping around the jungle, and on the Death Star 2 as well, she's flying around these flips and like almost in flight at certain points. It almost feels that she's able to hold herself and float wherever she needs to. And the only trouble she's having, obviously, is she's trying to contact the Jedi of the past, and we do get a beautiful moment when she actually finally does. But I again, no problems with her character. I like where she goes, and you know what she does. At the end of the day, she does sacrifice herself. She does die. We see her after the big battle, and she drops her sabers. At this point, she's got Luke and Leia's saber, which we'll get into when we cover Princess Leia's character. But she drops to the floor, and dead she is until our next protagonist. Really, I think is. If we want to move on to my favorite character of this movie, Mr. Kylo Ren, Ben Solo.
My favorite character of the entire saga.
I was going to say, let's just let George have this one. Let's just George completely fanboy out here. Because before he does it, though, I will say that between the two of them, I probably almost prefer Ben's character, especially with his progression, especially in this film. However, I do love Rey as well. But George, let's just let you have this one. Have your moment.
I mean, his opening scene, he massacres a village of just 50, pathetic cultists. I was so excited for this, not because, I've said many times, I mean, he will win that Oscar in February. He better win the Oscar in February. They got, Gold Dust getting him on. And, episode 7, he was the most interesting character. It wasn't obviously in this podcast, but I said he could go on the best movie villains in history by the end of the trilogy. Episode 8, when he killed Snoke, that was incredible. Did not see that coming. He became Supreme Leader. He rose to the occasion. He took that seat. He just wanted the power. And this one, when you watch someone Adam Driver, it's the intensity that comes with the character. His villainous side is so intense. He's not afraid of the Emperor. He's gonna try and kill him. He's rummaging through that random building thing on Exegol, which is probably the worst name I've ever heard in my life. I was expecting Dr. Eggman to be in the chair. That's something that childish. But no, Kylo Ren, we get the redemption we thought we'd get a lot earlier than I thought. The duel on the Death Star being very, very nice choice there, because it would have been so obvious to be the end of the film. But the moment in which it does it is obviously the Leia moment, which is one of the really big scenes. And we then have obviously himself in theory die as well. Well, not die, be wounded. Probably would have died. And I'm trying not to just talk it through. Ultimately, he had his redemption. He became Ben Solo, and then he became wasted. That's my viewpoint. I know I'm very controversial viewpoint. Not because I'm a fanboy, but I love the redemption. I love seeing him return. He had his little Han Solo moments as Ben, which was very neat. I really liked.
And then we also can mention Han Solo at that particular juncture as well.
Yes, I love the little cameo. One of the two predicted.
It was a beautiful moment that they literally played out. It's pretty much the scene on that platform from The Force Awakens, with a few twists on the lines, and basically like Kylo deciding that this is what he should have done the first time. This is the way it should have gone. Obviously, it's playing out as a memory, but it was such a nice move to have Harrison Ford back to play that scene out for his final redemption, to be with his dad, for him to, and when that final, it just goes, Dad, and Harrison Ford just, I know. And it just, oh god, it's a great moment for him to have there.
And it took me 2 viewings to realize that when he was healed from the lightsaber stab, they healed the scar across the face as well. That was a really nice touch. I was so confused. I realized it had gone, and then I realized why it was probably gone. As Snoke said, it split you in 2. Not anymore. He's all good. Ran around in that tracksuit at the end, killing the most ridiculous characters in the history of Star Wars, the Knights of Ren, aka 90s boy band music video. They were only put there because fans wanted. Wow, he got that really quick when I was getting to. Did he mean Knights of Ren? Sorry, I'm reading the comment from.
Yeah, it does mean Knights of Ren. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean they were dreadful, man. Like, come on, Ryan Johnson's like, if I use them, they're gonna die. They're pointless. And then what they in this film, pointless. I didn't think they were wasted. I just didn't want to care about any of them. I didn't care. They weren't going to do anything. They did some weird Planet of the Apes soundtrack back from the 60s. No, I mean, Kylo Ren, he's the most interesting character. I think he's my favorite character of the saga. I think he's the best written character of the 9. Well, of all of it. But something just felt missing with his death. Now, I read rumors what his original death was. And it was literally just the Emperor was just going to force lightning him and chuck him down that hole, which would have been one of the worst. Would have been one of the worst if that was true.
Yeah. It would have been a kick for that character. It wouldn't have been. That would have been very undeserved.
That's right up there with the opening with the hand floating through space. It's just glad they changed that.
Exactly. And sorry.
Oh no, I was going to say. I mean, because I've taken it and I've seen it online as well. So that's probably not the best listing, but that when obviously Princess Leia dies. And she's under that cloth and doesn't disappear and go off to the Force immediately. When Ben gets impaled by Rey, that Kylo Ren is dead at that point, and it's the spirit of Leia that is keeping her son alive, which is why Maz says Leia knows what she needs to do to connect with her son, that it's her life force kind of keeping him alive, which is why once he brings Rey back and fires that over and brings her back, why he dies so quickly and Leia disappears at the same time. They both got the Force at the same time. I just thought it was a nice play, whether it's right or wrong.
That's a good, nice
theory. I
like the
thought that's what happened. Yeah. Again, could be total rubbish, but as a theory, yeah.
I mean, it was not sort of Romeo and Juliet, because I hate that kind of romance stuff. But Reylo did become a thing, albeit very quickly. He resurrected her. I was on Cedric Diggory's death when like his father's like got his body and like pulling him over. I thought, oh shit, this is cinema. Oh, sorry.
You know, one, George. You gave me the one.
Can't help it. So yeah, I enjoyed her death to the point of obviously Kylo bringing her back to redeem her, and then they had the really awkward kiss.
Can I just put out there that she plays a really good dead person? Like she was still
she was a dead person's silent witness before she came on to Star Wars. So had that training.
I knew he was he couldn't be. I mean, he was redeemed, but he couldn't survive as much as I want him to survive.
Yeah.
He killed Han Solo. He killed Snoke. He went so far. He can't afford to live. However, when he died and went off with the Force, obviously that's character arc done. So a lot of people criticizing it online, more so Reylos than anything, which I think comes down to maybe massive expectation. I don't want to get involved into fandoms and what people wanted and stuff. I can understand all of that. But I still think it was very well written. But obviously, notably, there was less dialogue when he did turn. But to me, the character arc all came down to the moment with Leia when she whispered his name.
Yeah.
And his hesitation obviously kind of vaguely killed him. And what I love about that moment is not just the fact, obviously, Leia speaks to him, then Leia dies, and then only when she's died, Rey has realised that he's...
Her mistake, yeah.
Not her mistake, no.
That he's back, that Ben is back. And
no, not that either. Rey doesn't know that Leia spoke to him, but obviously she knows Leia's died when the hand drops down.
Yeah.
And I think that's the integral moment. Rey probably realised that he probably knew about his mom a moment before. But I think she was going to let him live anyway. I don't think she really wanted to kill him. I just think she wanted to stop fighting.
No, I think she was completely lost in the moment and she would have let him die. I think she was too far gone at that point. That was her saving point.
She was pathetic in the duel. Like, I'm sorry Dave mentioned earlier, but episode 7 she won. People always forget he had a giant, bowcaster bolt through the side of his chest.
Yep.
He destroyed her. She was like crying, pathetically trying to like beat him. And he was having none of it. I mean, he's a Skywalker. Solo's a son, but he's got that lineage. and he is one powerful guy. But I really enjoyed the fight. The lots of force jumping, I didn't mind. It was reminded of the Lego games, like the double jump across the waves. But it was cool.
Well, they did it very well. Visually, it like jumped to the waves, so you didn't follow the whole jump.
And also, one thing we'll talk about music later. One thing I loved in that scene was the absence of music, though.
Oh yeah, it's just the waves crashing down on everybody. That was what you wanted to see.
No.
You know, the credit, we've had 2 lightsaber duels officially in this trilogy. 3 if you include the throne room, and they weren't. You know, I love Duel of the Fates, Anakin v Obi-Wan. These aren't not overly choreographed, but these like one of us wants to kill you. And it's just these heavy blows, you know, that people are defending. That felt a lot more like sort of not episode 4, but it's a very different style of fighting.
Agreed.
The prequels, as much as I love the prequels, and I think the prequels are still the best duels. Obviously, back then, lightsabers dueling is more of an art than it is in the sequel trilogy.
What I would like to say is what Adam Driver and Kylo Ren now have, and Ben Solo especially have brought to fandom, is the really, really easy cosplay that you can now play as casual Ben Solo.
Casual Friday Kylo.
Some boots.
Yeah. Casual Friday Kylo is now a thing. It is. Casual Friday
Kylo. He looks amazing. But yeah, so easy to do. You can do it yourself. Just buy a wig.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm going to wrap up my thoughts, must admit, on the overall arc of Kylo Rey with the kiss, because I hated it. I didn't want it to happen, and it happened. I was like, no, I can't stand it. At that point, I'm like, really, you don't need to do that. That's almost fan service. I just don't need that. The redemption is fine, but you don't need a kiss.
I didn't mind it. I think it was that moment where she and Kylo had such that bond in The Last Jedi. The moment they touched tips, it's my favorite phrase ever. The moment they touched tips, and you knew the feeling was between them. They were both had that in them, no matter which side they were on. That spark was between them from that very moment. I would even think in that moment where she was right in front of him fighting with the lightsaber in The Force Awakens. So you know what? The kiss was okay. Had he survived and lived on and they were a couple happily ever after, I think then I would have found it harder to swallow. Sorry, that's probably not the term I want to use. It sounded dirty that I meant it. That if he'd stayed alive, I would have found it tougher for them to be a couple. The fact he then died, literally, and after he smiled, his face broke from that demeanor of sort of very straight-laced, and he gave this lovely smile and then was gone. Made it much easier for that kiss to be all it needed to be, and that was it done.
I think he knew he was going to die to do the Force heal thing. I like the moments where, like, not that she was dead, but the way he was just kind of like throwing her body around, like he was trying to do something. It felt very sort of not real because I've not been in that situation, but it wasn't some like, oh no, like head in his hands. What do I do? What do I do? It was there like straight away, like he's on it trying to like help her, and it was like his limp crawl towards her and stuff. And like I said, it's one of my favorite characters. I feel there was something missing with him as Ben Solo. I feel like it was done well, but I don't know. But there was just something about the last few minutes where he was like, like tossed out the fight with the Emperor. But I don't mind the kiss, but I can see why people are going to dislike it.
I love everything surrounding it. I know why it's there. I love everything leading up to it in terms of the story and the way both Daisy Ridley and Driver play it. I think it's fantastic. Just the kiss for me was just unnecessary. It was just you could have taken out the kiss, you could have the smile, and then he died, and it almost have that missed connection that here was your one chance to kind of have that kiss gone. I think would have been more powerful than the kiss itself and then him going. But that's me looking at it from my point of view. I can see how other people, as you just said, George, why they like it. And it's one of those things of it really, I think that point there is really subjective.
Yeah, I mean, it could be worse. He could be 3 times her age and ask her where she's from and let's go on a journey together.
Love it. Just a comment on there. Sorry, just to break out of that. John Parton, he did find the film hit some real emotional beats, but he did find the fan service overwhelming. There was certainly a lot of fan service in this movie, and it was done with full intentions. This was the closeout of 9 movies, and of course there was going to be moments in there there's more that we're going to see, I'm sure, when we get to Blu-ray and digital releases. Admiral Akbar's son is there. You hear him called Junior once in the movie, but that's Admiral Akbar's son, and that was going to be another character we're going to learn, but he's obviously been cut out of there. Kelly Marie Tran, who for some reason couldn't go on the mission because the fans didn't want her to last time, and she was left behind to look at the schematic.
Let's talk about that, right? The same fans that have abused her for years are now criticizing Lucasfilm for not putting her on the big journey. Like, where do we? She's the worst Star Wars character ever.
That's Phasma. That's Phasma. They'll always be
no. I don't know. This isn't me.
Yeah, no, I'm aware.
It's like, she's rubbish. Get rid of her. Never see her again. 2 years later, why isn't she on the mission with them all? Like,
because it's the toxic fans going after what's.
I mean, personally,
not. It's not.
Personally, she needs to be on that final mission with them all.
No, she didn't. She wouldn't.
It was very crowded. For a lot of it, I would, and also ultimately, we would needed the main trio together. That's what we needed to see. The main trio doing a mission together. Yes, you can have the droids with them. I think that was a big point of this film, is seeing those together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of this trio, I guess, do we want to talk about Finipo now, or do we want to talk about Emperor and Leia?
Yeah, I think we can talk about the Emperor first, since we're really sort of in that. Personally, to get him back now, weirdly, when you find him, he's not the Emperor we knew. This is very much obviously a dead body on a stick from the roof. That his eyes have whited over, like the pupils are dead. So you're seeing Ian McDiarmid fully, and that he was let out very early, being the Emperor. He was just there in it. I did love when we finally got him as the proper Emperor again, once he started pulling in their life force. But yeah, it was. I mean, what do you guys think of Palpatine being back the way he was used in the film?
I utterly despised it. This is what lost me on the first screening, and this is the thing I've kind of tried to gloss over on every screening since. I absolutely hated it. I did not want. When they announced he was coming back, I was excited. It was a great trailer moment. It was very intriguing. You had Ian McDiarmid roll out on stage, roll it again, and then we had, how is Emperor going to be involved? The question wasn't we wanted to see him; it was how is he involved? And this is where I think they made a fatal mistake, because I understand and not everybody needs an origin. For example, Snoke, we didn't need to explain his rise to power, but we had it. But ultimately, he was served a pointless. He died. Kylo killed him, became Kylo Ren. You didn't need to know much about Snoke. But what you need to know is how on earth this guy who's been dead for 30 plus years can now come back, or coincidentally 31 years later, via radio, and that's good enough. We don't get it explained. This is something that would need an explanation, because what this is, the issue of this for me is that this is totally made redundant the Chosen One. That's the crux of the first 6 films. Certainly the trilogy. What's the best scene in the prequels? It's you, the Chosen One. That's irrelevant now. The ending of Episode 6 is irrelevant because he's somehow survived. There's no exclamation. There is nothing, and I'm sorry, but they need that to do off the first 6 films like that. And this is my real issue. This was the moment where I said it's bull thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take it. And you know what? You know what's worse than bringing him back? You know what's worse than Rey being his granddaughter? When the hell did he have a son? I'm not concerned by Rey being his granddaughter. When did he have a child? Does he have more than one child? Who's his missus? Or is he just using some weird old wrinkly man things? Because in the second viewing, I looked at that flashback of Rey's parents. They look like mid-30s at best, right? And you got to think, they're probably, this is what, 13, 14 years before Force Awakens? So you got to think, Palpatine's kid was born right at the end of Episode 3, or maybe a couple of years into the Emperor's reign. He was a wrinkly old dude. You'd have thought that they not. You don't need to mention it. He doesn't need to have kids because it's silly he had kids. But oh look, he does. I'd have even took an awful clone storyline over him having children.
I would have liked. Yeah, that's the one thing that again I find jarring as well. While it was lovely to see Palpatine back, we needed more reason of how he got back. You're right. Had it just said literally, we happened to be able to clone the Emperor, or he's already designing clones before he died, that he had these, because obviously we saw a big vat of Snooks.
I love that.
So he had them just on order from Amazon somewhere. Big vat of Snooks. So yeah, it would have been lovely. It could have been a throwaway line that he'd been harvesting clones of himself.
The throwaway line is supposed to be
the pathway.
No, the throwaway line is supposed to be a path. The dark side is a pathway to many abilities, some to be considered to be unnatural. That is supposed to be the throwaway line. Not even, Donald Moynihan's lines, again, supposed to be that explanation. The problem is, it wasn't enough. The opening crawl should have dealt with it, not just going, he's back, it's okay. It should have been, the Emperor has returned by this matter. The kids part, I'm okay with in a way, in terms of he created Vader. He wasn't happy because Vader got, turned into a man's suit. He wasn't as powerful as he was supposed to be. Here at this point, he created his son to go, okay, I need a better version than what I got. He's not happy with the final result. There are ways you can do it. I'm okay with her being his granddaughter in a way, but there are issues I have of just how, when, and why. This is one of the things I was discussing with Robin when we were up until stupid o'clock in the morning going, okay, how is this possible? And he said something to me I thought was very critical, because they may explain it in a comic or a book, but that shouldn't be necessary reading to understand episode 9.
It also, it's the point that I love. Don't get me wrong, the comics and books, they've got their place in the universe. They're there to expand upon ideas.
Yes.
I understand that some, films, TV do, like obviously Marvel crosses it over, but Marvel ignores TV, so it doesn't apply to their films. That's the sense it should be in. I understand that throwaway line. The problem with that throwaway line is it's an identical line from episode 3, and 90% of people are going to take that as a reference to episode 3. And also, it's the cop-out. It's like when Rey found Luke's lightsaber, a story for another day. That day never came.
And also, while we're on lightsabers, I just want to bring a comment from Carl just saying, I've seen fans complaining about Luke saying show more respect the lightsaber as a dig at Johnson, but I see it as accepting that he is wrong.
Oh, completely. For me personally, I think it's Luke for me was completely redeemed in 9, connecting to 8. His story for me is complete. And this is the thing. My issue when I first saw The Last Jedi, I was like, they completely ruined Luke. Now, and this is why I said it in our predictions video, 9 will tie together 8 as Jedi did for Empire. Clone War, Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith didn't need to, because we knew what the ending was going to be. We knew how they were going to get there. There was just certain bits missing. With episode 6 from episode 5, and again from 8 through to 9, we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know where it was supposed to end, so you couldn't quite see the end. And Luke's arc, Rian Johnson now, to me, has written Luke really well to then where JJ has finished it. So his overall arc is absolutely cracking. So I completely agree with Carl there by saying it shows him accepting he was wrong. I just absolutely love it.
Yeah, I think from the moment in The Last Jedi when Yoda appears to Luke and tells him that, look, you've got this, it's our failure that they learn from. It's coming back to that moment. It's just such a nice move for Luke to catch that lightsaber. Look, I was absolutely wrong with where I was going with it and what I thought, and this is now how it should go forward. You've got to continue on. And I love how he just went out, that you're a Palpatine. I knew that. Leia knew that, and yet she still trained you. So
it's the how did she know? How did they know? I mean, we understood how Yoda and Obi-Wan knew that Vader was Luke and Leia's father, but how did they know that Luke was? Well, how did they know that the Emperor's child? How did they know that Rey was a Palpatine? How did we know? How did they know? That's the question I'm left with.
And we, it's silly. Luke, I love the redemption. I mean, he's redeemed at the end of episode 8 when he comes out. When he just forced, when he's that, he realizes, he is the spark. What they were going about, can't remember. No, the Luke stuff, I didn't take it as a dig. I took it as to listen. I shouldn't have come here all alone, so I'm going to bring back the Falcon for you to fly away with. And it was a great little scene. Although Mark Hamill's hair wasn't longer than it was in episode 8, which was really jarring. Did anyone else notice that?
No, yeah, the wig wasn't the best for that they put on him for this. It did seem, yeah, he died. That should have been exactly the same look. But you know what? That's fine. That's a little good. But I did love him rising up the X-Wing. I love that that's how Rey had it. And I love that moment, although he did have...
Seeing Red 5 back was awesome.
It's like poetry, it rhymes.
Yeah, exactly. That's George Lucas has said that from the start. This all the way through. This is just a poem. Every episode should rhyme with the last one. So you get these moments, but I really did enjoy seeing her being in Red 5 and the X-Wing. It was a really nice move for them to get off there. And I like that we went back to Act 2. I thought it was a nice little moment on the island as well, that she decided that she was going to go there to let the Jedi Order die. We got to see a Porg again. How nice was that? Should have thrown that in the fire as well. But that would have been an awful film. So we talking about Palpatine? I don't know, we were still on.
I've lost Dave's. Oh no, he's back. Palpatine. I'm all done with Palpatine because I just despised it all. Although, actually, you know what? I'm not done. Sorry. Can we talk about the 1,000 people that bought tickets to Palpatine's death ceremony? Where did they come from?
Yeah, it's this whole Sith. I mean, the actual building they were in looked very much like the one from Rebels, where
on Malachor,
Adrian and Ahsoka fought.
Yeah, on Malachor.
It looked very much like that. So I kind of recognize that, but if you haven't seen Rebels again, you don't know what's that. But you're right, all these Sith acolytes that they had from it's a plot hole. There are plot holes in this film, and unfortunately, they're going to be filled in.
My issue is most of it surrounds the Emperor and him coming back. That's my ultimate issue.
That's a big issue, a big plot hole for me as well. That needed more being told. But I mean, if we move on from Palpatine to the character that we all thought was going to be the hardest one to fit into this movie, and that's Princess Leia, played by Carrie Fisher in the movie. And what are your overall thoughts on this, gents? I thought there were parts when it worked and parts when it didn't.
I didn't expect it to be as long as she was, which I really liked. I thought that was quite important for me. The issue with it, I spoke to my friend I watched with yesterday. He's not a massive Star Wars fan, but he's very much into film itself. And he said the kind of same thing I was trying to get at, that you can obviously, when I explained to him, this was old footage put onto a double. This is where you can tell it's old footage because the dialogue that's from the others around her aren't that good. Which I can understand. It's very obvious. I like what they did. Obviously, whatever happened, it was going to be a hard thing, but I did not see it coming with the Ben message. All that, I thought that was great. That was wonderful. How it led on to Poe, ultimately Lando as well. I really enjoyed how they used Leia. It threw me off with her being the Jedi training master. Personally, because it hasn't been explored in the films. It's a big... I know the Expanded Universe have done it, but you got to think for so many people that are going to watch this film, Leia being the Jedi Master is going to be a bit of a shock. And now, obviously, again, this comes back to the real-life situation at hand. Also, they did always say Episode 9 was always going to be Leia's film. Yeah. And obviously, unfortunately, we couldn't get that. But what we were able to get, I was very happy with.
I just felt that, you're right. Because of the line readings that they had to work around, obviously, they had to build their dialogue into that. And you're right. It just felt at some point it was clunky. It didn't, McClunky probably is the best way to put it. It didn't quite flow very well. They had to build around what she'd already said. And the only thing I thought, when she was the Jedi Master, I quite appreciated that scene that Luke absolutely, after Endor, trained her fully to be a Jedi. That she got her last lesson. She'd seen her son die, so decided, right, I'm giving this up. The only thing that took me away from that scene is when she was fighting Luke, Luke falls over and lifts up that blaster mask so you can see his face. Absolutely perfect rendition of young Luke Skywalker under that helmet.
I didn't recognize it at first, but that's because we were the wrong side of the screen. When I saw it the other day, I was the correct side of the screen. I was like, okay, yeah, she's much better.
Leia raises hers up, looks like a CG model, really badly done.
It looked like they used Billy and CGI'd it to try and look like Leia.
It just didn't look right, but Mark was perfect. And she was, and that was the only thing I threw. But the actual her being the master of Rey and she was teaching her, I really dug that part of the story. I thought it was a really nice touch to make Princess Leia be elevated to the level I think she probably would have been had she been able to be a full part of this movie.
So I loved her storyline. I loved the fact. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is one of the big things which I said to friends. I got to give JJ the biggest credit for this. Is he had to write 8 to be the middle, so to finish it off, he had to write an end to a middle he didn't write. He had to tie together all the strings, and he had to write around Carrie's passing, which is extremely sad, and we're all saddened by her loss. But he had to do a very unenviable, difficult task. I think he did that extremely well. My issue doesn't come with how she was used. It was the blast mask up was one of them, but my biggest issue of all is when she came back at the end as a Force Ghost. Not because she became back as a Force Ghost, perfectly fine with that. It's the fact that they said from the start they refused this and we're not going to CGI Carrie at all. And I'm sorry, but that scene was never shot. I'm sorry, I don't buy that. I buy that being shot, and I reckon it was.
I reckon they just.
I think that's been taken as well. I think that's from when she's.
It's just her standing still.
Yeah, I think that's shot. I think that's an actual. I'd be interested to find out if that is right or wrong. But I think that's an actual shot of Carrie Fisher put next to CG to be next to Mark. But I think it felt to me like she was actually there and present.
It's more the very convenient white outfit of here's her in a Jedi outfit dead.
I don't buy for a second that's what she was actually wearing when we shot.
That's my issue. It was
I don't mind that.
That would have been on the double that they had on set. They had a double on set the whole time, and they just put the footage on top of her. I just think it would have been the exact same thing. That's probably the easiest shot of them all to do, just her standing still.
Maybe, but it was just something that I didn't.
Style that was the weird bit with it.
It's just one of those things of how I've only watched it twice. I haven't agreed with that so far. It's just been the one that's thrown me completely. But I said her overall arc, fantastic. I actually loved her storyline. I think I said writing around her death was never going to be easy, and it was one of the most unenviable tasks JJ had, and I think he did a cracking job with that.
Yeah, totally tasteful. Did exactly the right way. I was very shocked. I mean, I said on our preview of what we thought might happen that we would not see her die on screen, that she'd be disappeared off somewhere. But no, we got a full-on death laying out for people to grieve around. The Chewie thing broke my heart when he second time, not the first time. First time I saw this movie, I didn't shed a tear throughout the whole thing. Phil did. I could hear him sobbing next to us. But honestly, when Chewie hears that she's dead on the second viewing,
that got me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It was the same thing for me that happened when I first watched 7. It wasn't Han's death, it was Chewie's reaction. And this was worse for me because he just completely loses it. This time around, he's lost everyone at that point. He has lost all his friends. And it's just that it's heartbreaking. It just wrenched me in two. I was just, no. Completely.
Excellent job by Eunice as well. I thought he did really well with Chewbacca in this movie. To carry on from Peter Mayhew's legacy and to play the character. Yes, obviously you can tell it's not Peter Mayhew anymore because he can move around and stuff, and like because of obviously Peter's bad knees that he had. But I think he just inherited the character so well and paid such deft attention to the way Peter played it. And absolutely adored Chewie's love. And look, he gets the Medal of Yavin at the end, and that is to me a perfect end for Chewie's character as well. There's your medal. That's what you deserve in the first place. Go off and do bad things with Maz.
They've already given him a medal in the comics. That's the problem.
No one.
They would have done it.
No,
don't do that. I didn't see that. Doesn't matter. Get out, Phil.
It's canon. This problem.
But canon is the film. It was a nice end to his arc. And it's better than him getting killed by Force lightning in a ship and then not talking about. When I thought they'd killed Chewie, I know this is point, I was seething. They not saying that they'd done it, they'd glossed over it and carried on their journey. Yeah. So I was very relieved when Richard D. Grant said, "You've got Chewbacca." I was like, "Thank God for that."
Yeah, it's
yeah. Although I realised actually in our character section of who we got to go through, we haven't actually mentioned Richard D. Grant as General Pride. He was probably my favourite character in that film by far. I had no expectation for him going into it, and I absolutely adore his character throughout.
Let's get through the others first, and then we'll come to Richard D. Grant. Because he is a legend. Are we all done with Right, Finn and Poe. Not as much as Sandy's.
No.
Finn's character doesn't really have an arc in this film. He's the kind of really nice guy.
Yeah.
There's rumors about apparently an event at the Academy last night. JJ did a screening and a Q&A after. Apparently he said that the thing he wanted Finn to tell Rey was that he was Force sensitive.
I think you picked up on that throughout the movie. I don't think you need to say it. Every time something happened, he felt when Rey died. I thought the thing, well, not at that time, but when you get to the end of the movie and you're still thinking about it, like, oh, he wanted to say he'd start to feel or sense something, that he was starting to be Force sensitive around it. So I kind of picked that up from the movie. The one thing I didn't want to go was, I love you, Rey. And I didn't want that because she did not feel that way for him. No. And I think it would have been embarrassing. It wouldn't have been it wouldn't have been a good way for that characters, because they are obviously great friends in the film. And I think it would have just messed things up a bit with that. So I'm glad it wasn't that. And I do think you're right. I think it was the Force sensitivity thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not sure either way what he was going to say, because I thought it could go one of those two ways, especially towards the end of the film. But I love the fact he was Force sensitive by the end of it. I actually thought it was a really nice touch. It wasn't emphasized. It wasn't in terms of it was put to you, but it wasn't overly done. It wasn't this revelation of, oh, I'm a Jedi. It's that whole thing of the Force.
He has a feeling.
Yeah. But I like that. It's subtle, but I like it.
Yeah, it was nice. I would say he didn't have a lot to do in this movie. He was kind of in with them in the trio who were going around and helping Rey, but him and Poe played off each other really well. They seemed to get on so well as actual two people outside the movie, so it was nice to have their interactions. I thought
for Finn, he more had a bigger role in 8, and I was okay with that, having a backseat in 9, because 9 wasn't supposed to be his film. 9 wasn't supposed to be his ending.
7, he had, to me, the best character arc out of the 3 in episode 7. Most interesting by a mile off. I think Dave, I'd say Poe.
Yeah, I just thought Poe was nice that he was given this general lead, and I loved his desolation of that he couldn't save everybody. That moment when he's in the X-Wing and everyone's dying and he doesn't know the people are coming to help, and that moment where he's a general who can no longer help the armies he's trying to fight with. I thought he played it really well. He played for laughs as well. I thought he was done really well. His flirting with Kerry Russell's character was really nice.
Yeah.
To find out he didn't need the backstory of what Poe did before he was in the Resistance, but it made me chuckle. I quite enjoyed that he knew how to do all these things. He was a spice runner of all things. It was I just thought he had a nice character. He didn't do
I much preferred him in this than in 8. I love The Last Jedi, but I prefer his arc in Rise of Skywalker by a mile. He was much more of a human character, much more fleshed out.
I thought he was better in 9 than 8, but I think 8, the point of his character arc was the learning lesson.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. He's certainly grown from that film. You can see his growth from the guy he was to when Leia at the end of Last Jedi says, "Don't follow me, follow him." And he's taking that role and he's running with it. And it's nice. I loved him and Rey fighting as well. They just do not agree with how she's not helping with the main missions. I liked that bickering between the two.
I think that was part of Colin Trevorrow's script. As what we know was that Colin Trevorrow asked them to put in episode 8, "Hey, I'm Poe," aka Colin Trevorrow was definitely going to do not love triangle. I think Colin Trevorrow would have tried to put a sort of ship Poe and Rey, which I'm happy they didn't do. But I felt like some of the dialogue between the two of them would have added up into that, the missions, the arguments, how prominent he is with her. But I've really enjoyed Oscar Isaac in it.
I'd watch Oscar Isaac's, like him and Adam Driver. I'd watch them like read a newspaper. I'd be quite happy. I think they're both terrific as actors on there, and I really enjoyed his portrayal of Poe again in this film. Again, not a massive amount to do, but the bits he did so well.
Yeah, but again, going back to what you said, George, just before we move off Poe, is the lesson was learnt in 8, so that in 9 he could be the better character. He's gone from a trigger-happy flyboy to a leader. I love the simple yet brilliant nod between him and Poe, between him and Finn, was like, I can't do this alone. I need help, and it's just like, I appreciate that. It's like general, done. Simple, gloss over, moment for some, but for me, I was like very nicely played between the two of them. For me, Poe, by the end of the films, you want the characters to feel complete, or at least some part of their arc to feel complete. Poe, for me, by the end of 9, felt complete. He really was very well rounded, and I mean, Oscar Isaac is a fantastic actor anyway. But the way he portrayed Poe especially by the end of Episode 9, big props to him. Absolutely love it.
Definitely. No. C-3PO, BB-8, D-O, R2. We're in the droids now. We're in the end game.
Yep.
C-3PO didn't die.
No.
He didn't shoot that bowcaster. He didn't sacrifice. Well, he kind of sacrificed himself. Maybe my favorite film that involves C-3PO. Certainly, I felt his funniest and some of his best work.
Yes.
And major credit for Anthony Daniels rocking that suit in his 70s.
Yeah, I thought you're absolutely right. It was nice to have C-3PO back being the old C-3PO that was in A New Hope and Empire and Jedi in that full role of being one of the main gang again. I loved how you throw away lines, like when they fell through the quicksand into the floor and Paul was checking everybody. He goes, "You didn't say my name," and I'm okay. It was just nice that he was this droid, and the way he was brought back as a fresh droid who didn't know anybody at that point was a really nice take of the character again, to have this not know it all. And I really like George, and I really enjoyed him. And you're right, Anthony Daniels did a great, as much as we mock Anthony Daniels for how much Anthony Daniels loves Anthony Daniels, he did such a good job with C-3PO in this movie.
I enjoyed him, but I wish he had died. I wish they'd gotten rid of him. I mean, I know I'm controversial in saying that.
It's because Phil saw the red eyes and thought it was 000.
000, yeah. Yes, of course I want 000. I wanted my murder droid, but that's not the point here. I felt the whole thing of him risking his mind was then completely undermined by the fact that R2 restored it.
Oh, I think that was a moment I loved, that R2 just was like, "I'm not going to want to stick what in my head," and just next scene it's just like, R2's ready to shut up, I'm doing it.
I like it, but I just wish that he'd been sacrificed. It almost just wasn't enough sacrifice in this film for it. It's dark of me to say, but I just wanted more peril.
Part of me thought that when he restored his memory, it would have been like really old from like Episode 3, because he goes, "Oh, I'm going on my first mission with Master." It took me ages to says Ray. I was half expecting like Master Anakin when I first heard it. That would have been
it would have been Master Antilles. Because if you go right back to Episode 3, because he had
maybe taking him to that moment, it would be nice for him not to have realised he'd done anything else, and he got like, "All right, I'm just about to get the speed with Anakin and Padme," and just be like, "What?"
I really
then it would be, why didn't R2 restore his memory after Antilles had it wiped in Episode 3? That's me getting really, really too deep into it. I just wish that one of those original
died. That's right.
Just not R2. Just not R2.
R2D2. Still one of my most disappointing parts of the trilogy. That they
didn't do as much.
I understand BB-8, that he is, the new generation droid. But why couldn't R2 have gone on the mission? I know there was a lot of droids,
but Poe had R2D2 in his X-wing, and that made me happy.
He was in the X-wing and he was on the first mission. To transmit the radio, but he had an okay scene. He just didn't get to do much.
It's been underutilized in this trilogy completely, and I did miss R2 not being a main player, especially when they brought 3PO to be a main player again in this episode. It would have been nice for the two of them to play off each other. It would have been a nice move, but you know what? I guess because the way it's not, it's not our story. It's they needed BB-8 to be around. They've got Dio as well, who voiced by J.J. Abrams.
I didn't mind it.
Yeah,
I didn't have too much screen time, but was a little welcome addition to the family.
Had a nice bit of the actual dialogue. He moved the story forward because he knew where the Sith. I can't remember the name of the planet because it's stupid again. Exegol. He knew where that was. Yeah, he knew where it was. So that was nice. He had an actual reason to be there and to be brought and restored. So that was nice. And played. And I say that's not CG, which is the best thing about it. That's an actual on-screen, being shot live, robot being controlled, and I thought that was amazing. I love to see old school magic like that. That's someone's created and built that's not been computer generated. I loved it. I love that.
Well, it's one of the things I've praised since Disney have brought back Star Wars, is the amount of realism they went. They went, no, we're not going to Lucas's lengths of here's a blue room, let's create a universe, and the amount of sets, the amount of world building they've done, the amount of actual reality there is fantastic. And of course, where is it here? No, thank you. No, thank you. Yep, loved it. I thought Dio was used, but he was used sparingly, and I thought if they'd overdone it, it would have been terrible. But he was used at the right moments, the right points. I wasn't expecting him to talk, but I didn't mind it. It was a case of, oh, okay, he's actually speaking common. He's not speaking whatever droid language is.
And I guess that any other mention on droids?
Anything else? Well, no, we got 3PO's oldest friend.
Yes, we're gonna come on. George has been a complete Babu Frick kick since we've seen the film. I'm gonna let him have his moment.
I don't understand the creature, but it was one of the most incredible, random, what on earth is going on characters I've ever seen in cinema. When this little critter came on screen, I mean, what you got the Star Wars show. You got the Star Wars show where they said, "Oh, Babu Frick's like a god," and Star Wars show can be like that. But oh my word, voiced by Moaning Myrtle from Harry Potter. It was a drunkard, half-naked, 1-inch droid smith. I don't know why I liked it so much. I think it was the talking to itself, the random words, the illiterate English.
Droid's brain go bye-bye.
Maybe one of the greatest scenes of this entire saga is the moment in which Kerry Russell's Y-Wing appears. She's piloting it. And then it just pops up like a GIF, like that, and it just makes that drunken hey noise. I'm not going to do it because I can't do justice, but every screening I've been to, Babu Frick has had the most laughs, and I love the fact it's like a 1-inch animatronic. That must have been so hard to have done.
Yeah,
but oh my, it's just so funny, so ridiculous. It's so Star Wars.
He's a Babu freak.
People would get excited about Claude, but Babu Frick stole it.
Yeah. Babu Frick was awesome.
I guess we now move on to, just before we kind of move on to our next points, any other characters you kind of want to talk about before we kind of move on to
one specifically for me, General Pride. I mean, Richard E. Grant is Richard E. Grant. He's an acting legend. He's been around for donkey's years. He's done a lot. However, General Pride was my favorite new character from this film. The way, of course, he ratted out the mole and just killed off Hux. The way he just went about systematically doing what he did. His death scene as well was incredible. It was brutal. You saw him actually completely sucked out into the vacuum. Well, sorry, into the Atmos actually. But it was fantastic. I loved his character from start to finish. The way he played it, the way he played off Palpatine, the way he played off of Ren, the other officers in the First Order / the New Sith Empire, and all the rest of it. I from start to finish loved his character.
I mean,
sorry. The only thing I didn't like is that just the way he took Hux out.
Yeah, they did Hux dirty. I'm sorry, but the biggest laughter moment of that first screening was when Hux says, "I'm the spy," and it's meant to be funny because it's ridiculous, but it was funny because it was so ridiculous. It was also one of the funniest things I've ever seen. You knew he was only a spy because he hated Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
But the moment in which he died, he did not deserve that death. Yes, he was going to die. He would have died. It was so pathetic. He deserved so much better from being one of the most ridiculous cartoon characters in the history of Star Wars. That man that gave that speech on Starkiller Base did not deserve to go out to a mere bullet through the chest. Yeah. I love the way Richard Grant's character dies. Hux needed something so over the top, so comical, so silly that it matched him from episode 7 to 9.
Yeah,
and I really didn't like how quickly they kind of dispatched him.
I agree with that. There was about one downside to that side of it that I really like Hux as a character, and I wanted something big for him. I would love if he got out the same way like Richard E. Grant did, just last man that Star Destroyer getting blown against the window. But Pride was great, and Richard E. Grant is awesome in the movie. He plays it as stoic a British officer you would ever get, and I absolutely love that. And he knew from the start Hux was a spy. He plays it so well.
It's the moment they say spy, and he just stares at Hux at the moment. Richard Grant, he's one of those old school British actors that You know, if you want a British guy to be an Imperial officer on a ship, Richard E. Grant's like, he's not average tier. You want a general that's an evil British guy, then you go for someone like Richard E. Grant. He had his little cane. He does a little shimming with it when he's like running to get to the Falcon, and it's such amazing. I think what I love with it is because he's so nice in real life. I think that really helps it when he's playing this dastardly evil man, and ultimately he becomes head of the First Order.
Absolutely, yeah.
Part of me does wish that was Hux, but I understand why not. Because Hux being head of First Order just would have been ridiculously hilarious.
Indeed.
I don't think
Hux would just blow the world up. Just Galaxy must die, everybody, everybody gone. Yeah.
But Generally Grant, not Generally Grant.
Generally Grant would have been an excellent name.
Generally Grant for Richard E. Pride. There we go.
We do move on. I just want to say, and just a little shout out to other characters we saw. Lando, lovely to see for when he came back. Looked great. I mean, best way Kev just put up there, wedge. It was lovely to see him, and we knew he was coming back. And he literally got to say, "Let's go fly, Lando."
In his same costume.
Yeah, it was just lovely.
Did he ever get dressed?
No, he stayed in that. Apparently, he went in the Falcon. That was the only suit that was in there still. Like Lando got hands closed, but it was I just really enjoyed it. I loved seeing Wedge. I loved it. So, it was just nice to get that.
I wish Nia Nunn had a scene with Lando.
Oh yeah, agreed.
Yeah, it would be nice.
I understood why Chewie piloted Falcon, but could you have imagined if that had been Lando and Nia Nunn back together on the ship again? It would have been too fan servicey. It's already fan serviced enough, this one, but that would have been quite incredible.
Indeed.
So,
But that wraps up our looks at the characters. Let's move on to the visuals. The one big thing I want to talk about first off is now we know it's Mustafar, but take the actual planet name out of it. Before we knew that it was Mustafar, I love the opening scene, the visual of that forest or whatever it is, where you have Kylo just rock bottoming people left, right, and center, and just being completely just messing everyone up. I thought it looks absolutely fantastic. It's one of my favorite scenes from the film, purely from a visual point of view.
It was like ballet of just him murdering everyone, and that girl's alarm gets chopped off at the end.
Yeah, it's brutal, but that's what we needed from Kylo, was pure brutality. But we're not on the characters now; we're on the visuals. As from a visual standpoint, it's one of my favorite parts of the film. Just looking at it again, you had the desert, you had Pasana with the festival that happens every 42 years. I love a little shout out to the fact that it's been 42 years since A New Hope. Again, cool little bits and pieces here and there. Exegol, yes, I'm aware that you guys have the contention with the name and everything else, but I love although I'm not happy with the Sith acolytes all being there, I love the look of the interior of that temple as well. I love the look of the throne. Again, just from a purely visual standpoint, especially the throne's one of my favorite pieces from the film.
I thought the film was visually stunning throughout. It's so well shot. It's so well. Everything's lit. The sets are all amazing. It just stunning on those high definition screens. It's just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, you can't criticize the visual effects were fine. The animatronics are incredible. The puppets are incredible. Yeah. Set design, all of it. So, this will obviously be a bog standard VFX nomination. Love it to win. I don't think it will. I think Lion King's got it in the bag. But, and going back to the trilogy as well, one of the big things going to episode 7 was we don't want too much each other prequels. We need sets, we need costumes, we need props, we need this, that.
And they have stood by it, and it has worked. It has looked visually fantastic.
And we've had, things created like BB-8, which could never have been, well, it would have been done via CGI, but what they've been able to do and the talent work in these films, it's been flawless.
Absolutely. Indeed. I mean, the one thing I want to say is on that one, if you compare Rocket, Booster, R2, they would have worked out a way to do it now. It's that kind of level. They've go, no, we want to look at it. Let's see how it can be done.
Oh, yeah. If they needed to, then, it would have been fully realised. If it needed to fly, it would have flown. But obviously underused and didn't need to. But, visually, the whole trilogy has been stunning. Some of my favourite actual visual images have been in this trilogy, and this film did not let me down. It is absolutely beautiful.
No, but one area of the film did let me down, and was the music department. It's funny enough, George put in our chat a couple of days ago saying, is it bad of me that I've not really enjoyed this one? Well, actually, for me, I think it's the weakest one of the whole. I genuinely, although, yes, it's still good, And again, like Pizza, when it comes to John Williams, even when it's bad, it's still good. There's some good moments. My favorite musical piece was hearing the Emperor's theme again. That shouldn't have been the case. I wanted more from this trilogy in terms of music, and I think this is just the weakest one. That may be a bone contention for some people, but for me, personal opinion, not moved by this soundtrack. I think Sevens is far superior.
This soundtrack, I need to listen to it properly, but it didn't get me like the others have. There's a lack of First Order theme as well, which really, really annoyed me because that's my favorite theme from the new series. I loved, obviously, the Throne Room theme. That was more the nostalgia of, wow, what a great soundtrack Return of the Jedi was. But obviously, you know, John Williams did get an actual cameo as well, which I really liked seeing him. He looked really miserable. Like, oh, God, why am I here? But, yeah, the soundtrack wasn't my favorite. It's a shame, but I will listen to it again and I hope it gets better. I do love the last 10 minutes of it when it goes through various. Also, we were lied to. They told us every theme ever in Star Wars will be in this. There was no Duel of the Fates. There was some rip-off of another chorus. That's not Duel of the Fates because there's people doing a chorus thing. Soundtrack.
Yeah, it was.
If you listen to all of the credits, they put it in. That's the problem. They go, "Oh, here we shoulda-horned it into the credits." Not
it's because it's in that really good TV spot.
Yeah,
and that was got me so pumped.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I think it was, for me, the old motifs that were the major part of the soundtrack I really enjoyed. I just thought it was enough. And look, John Williams has done great work for decades and decades. But you've got to get to a point like it was his last Star Wars film, and we were always of the view that we'd probably get nominated for this just to give him it, but I don't know if it's strong enough to do that, unfortunately.
I still think he'll get the honorary Oscar for. Not that he needs it to add to his collection. The guy, and he's earned it. He's earned every single one he's ever got. The guy is probably one of the greatest composers to ever live. This just was not his finest work, not in my opinion, anyway.
No, I'm with you on that. I think that's fair.
So we're going to move on. I think we'll skip world buildings. We've actually talked quite a bit about world building already. Missed opportunities. Dave, George, anything on that one?
Yes, Kylo Ren should have been Force Ghost right at the end of the film. Mic drop. Explain why it didn't happen.
I would have liked to have seen that, and I also think he should not have come back as Kylo. I would have liked to have seen when he got there. No, there's not much chance for him to kind of been holding on to some kind of robes at all, but I would have liked to see a variation maybe on his Kylo costume, but made into more of a, like Anakin's dark robes.
What if he'd have come out in Harrison Ford's clothes from the original trilogy?
I would have stood up and applauded at the cinema, sir. I would have stood up and applauded.
You know what? I haven't actually thought very much about his Force Ghost not being there yet. I didn't mind it. I thought actually he may have gone too far, but then actually realised Anakin then came back in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
At that last point, he was Anakin Skywalker.
And the other thing, when Kylo died, he did the Force Ghosts.
Yeah.
There's all your clothes. That was a thing that I'm expecting him to come at the end, but no, he didn't. And also, I understand why Anakin didn't come as a vision to Rey. He's not connected to Rey. That's why I thought even more Kylo might have cropped up on Tatooine at the end. That would have been a great shot, looking up at the uncle that tried to kill him, nodding his head. But no, again, it's not that much of a missed opportunity. Other things, again, Mustafar, Vader's temple, while my Charamus collapsed then. And I'm intrigued to see what we get in the deleted scenes. Do the Knights of Ren count as a missed opportunity? No, because they are dreadful.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't think there was much point to them at all. They didn't offer much at all, apart from giving Adam Driver an awesome fight scene where I did love the saber behind the back because we know they're connected. And she goes to take the swipe and just it disappears and it's behind his back. I did love that. And I actually, one thing I did love that JJ kept from The Last Jedi was that connection between them, the Force Skype, where they could just cut that in. And we knew after they touched tips that they could actually fight through it.
Well, it's one of the things my friend of mine said that 9 made 8 irrelevant, and how it actually gave 8 one of the most critical moments of 9, which is that Force connection.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it is a great movie. To see them back to back is a really nice thing. It does make, for me, I already like The Last Jedi, but it makes it stronger for me.
It's same what Return of the Jedi did for Empire. It makes the middle part better when you know the ending. And I love it. I love The Last Jedi now, even more so than I did before.
Also, because it's many times better than this one too.
That probably is a stronger film.
That's a point of view on that one. I
billion times better.
I think Last Jedi stronger film, Rise of Skywalker better movie.
Oh no! This is an argument for another
time, another kind of thing. But that's my feeling and my take. But don't dismiss me.
Indeed. Again, more missed opportunities. So we've got Robin here going no Hera. Again, you see the ghost, you don't see anyone. And actually, I think that particular
like 100 at this point.
That's fan service. Again, I understand Robin's point of view there, but saying actually in that ship scene, I would have loved a few more voices to come over the intercom. Would have been great. John Parton saying Anakin should have been this, not just a voice. I'm okay with him not being in it because of that particular scene where you have all of the Jedi voices going. I mean, don't forget, at this point, when you have those voice scenes, you have Obi-Wan, you have Anakin, Ahsoka, Kanan, Luminara, Yoda, Qui-Gon, Aayla Secura, you have Adi Gallia, you have so you got Qui-Gon, you've got it's the amount of people, and of course you have Mace Windu as well. You have the list is just incredible who they managed to get back for this.
I like the voice thing. If Anakin had a role, it should have been to talk to Kylo. Yeah. However, Mr. Han Solo did that very well. Someone would have said to me if Han Solo's coming on, I'd been like, "Oh, that's going to be weird." But actually, it was a very, very well done scene with it being in his head.
Was the lack of Ben as a Force Ghost to make it more of a point that Rey is a Skywalker?
Rey isn't Skywalker.
Well, that's not. She says she is. By the end of that film, she's adopted a new family, a new surname. She has moved on from Palpatine.
That did not need to. That final scene would have been perfect had it just been her walking off to the desert with the BB-8 with the Force Ghosts there. The old lady. It was when she says, "Oh, no one comes here anymore." But it was so what is your surname? I was like, oh, here we go.
But yeah, you absolutely knew what the line was going to be. But also when they were in the middle of the final fight with Palpatine and he goes, "I am all the Sith," and she froze it, and I am. Did anyone else hear Iron Man in their head?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I am. I just was like, it's gonna. That's the perfect. I've heard this line before at the end of a movie in a climactic battle. But yeah, I didn't mind that at all. Yeah, I missed opportunities, yes, but overall,
I also wanted more from Wedge. I wanted more from Wedge. He was Phantom Leader in the books. He's done so much. I want more of Wedge, but that's me as a Wedge fan going, I want more, but it's not necessarily a missed opportunity.
I can imagine you and Reem goes, "Hey, Uncle, I'm back. Get to Pinewood."
Yeah,
that's how it happened.
Absolutely. I would have thought that you played a large part in him being part of the movie.
Do you guys have a favourite scene from episode 9?
It's tough with I think my very favourite scene excuse me in
Bill?
Waiting for Dave's just dying there. Put me right on the spot. So I was thinking of my favourite scene from episode 9. To be fair, I've only seen it twice. I haven't seen it enough for me to kind of get a particular affinity for a scene yet, per se. But I still think actually probably my favorite scene is when Ben gets the Skywalker saber and just hacks up the Knights of Ren purely because it's just seeing him as Ben Solo with a blue lightsaber, but it's family's lightsaber. That for me is one of my favorite moments. Actually, no. I'll probably go Han and Kylo. That's probably my favorite moment. Actually, the more I think about it, that one's one of the moments that brought me to tears straight away. Was just seeing Han come back.
Kylo and Rey. Sorry, I did have to go off and cough. Do apologise. I lost my voice there a second. Kylo and Rey on top of the Death Star 2, and yes, the ultimate of him returning to be Ben while speaking to Han was a beautiful moment. And yeah, that's probably of the two showings that I've seen, that's probably my favourite scene. And I really did like the ending. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, the Death Star scene was probably one of my favourites. Not just the duel, but the ending, the latest moment, the interjection, Han Solo, redemption arc complete. He is now Ben Solo. That was my favourite part of the film. Besides the massacre in the opening. But no, we spoke about the end, obviously the ending moment of Tatooine, but we know this is the end of the Skywalker saga.
I must admit, I wasn't a fan of how they made the twin sons look like BB-8 at the end.
I didn't mind it. It was silly, but I didn't mind it.
I love the binary sunset moment was perfect. It just didn't need that little bit. It just was like, come on, really.
Yeah, what it didn't need.
I'd never even picked up on that until you've just mentioned it.
It didn't need Jawas and a Sandcrawler. We saw them too.
Yeah, we knew as soon as they saw the homestead, you knew where you were, and it was pushed in there. But you know what I did like? We saw in the, if you're watching The Mandalorian, we saw how Tatooine was becoming this planet less inhabited in that, and that was just after, sort of a few years after Jedi, of that woman saying no one comes here anymore. It looked like a dead planet. There's nothing.
It was good to see Wicket. Good to see Wicket.
Old Wicket. But no, it's just, I can't remember what I was saying now. I completely lost train of thought. So yeah, I did like that we got that continuation that this is a dying planet and no one goes there anymore. I love the burying of the sabers in the ground at the homestead.
I love her own saber. I love her own saber. I thought that was a really nice touch. Yeah, the yellow blade. I
thought they meant no one comes here as into the last building.
Oh, I took it as planet like Tatooine was dying out, that no one goes there anymore. So who knows which way it was kind of meant to play. And I love, binary sunset walking off into that sunset was an absolute perfect way to finish that film.
I thought the ending was a little too similar to Jedi, and the music itself has those familiar notes of the music from the end of Jedi.
I don't know. I thought it was a bit different. If it ended at the little celebration that'd been an issue.
Yeah.
But to have almost an epilogue of burying the lightsabers at the.
No, I prefer that. You see, that's why I'm okay with it at the end. That's why I love that particular ending. Is because all those bits tied into that. If they'd left it just as a celebration, then I would have felt it's too cheap they've done Jedi. But to end it with that epilogue of the binary sunset and to close it where we're on my favorite scene from A New Hope, which is the binary sunset, because that piece of music gets to me every single time without failure, no matter how many times I see A New Hope. I loved it. I thought it was a great ending. See her own saber, to her burying Luke and Leia's sabers, and to her having her own sabers, the end of one way, the beginning of another. I thought was a really, really nice moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I just want to kind of touch on before we kind of close out on this. I know I said at the beginning that we asked what our thoughts on our first viewing, and then I disliked the film entirely. I went to a second showing, and I loved it. I laughed and I cried, and all the emotional beats hit with me. And it was like I watched a different movie. But I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, George, final closing thoughts?
The Skywalker saga has come to an end. Now we would like to go to the box office now.
Sorry, George, really couldn't hear you. They were completely muted. What was that?
Is it cut off? Can you hear me?
There we go.
No, the Skywalker saga has come to its end now. And now I need to get a pre-order in on the box that it launches in England. Even if it doesn't come with Rogue One, disgracefully. No, it's the ending to the saga, it signals not the end of the first era of Disney, I would say. Begin a new era with Disney Plus. We've kind of spoken this before, but that's all I kind of have to say. It's not my favorite of this trilogy of the saga at all, but I'm intrigued to rewatch it to hope it gets better still. It's fine. The second and the third being really did make a dramatic improvement compared to how I felt at midnight on Thursday.
Yeah.
And that was not a fun 5-minute walk home to the room.
No. We were all a bit damp and soggy, and the rain was throwing down, and some of us were quite unhappy with the movie. So, I say, after seeing it the second time, I loved it. I can't wait to see the third time and the fourth time. And I can't wait to sit and watch them back to back when it comes out as a big box set.
Indeed, I will be getting the box set one day when I can afford it. I can't afford the price tag. At the moment, it's quite a hefty price tag. However, my closing thoughts are just going to be almost repeating what the guys have said. For me, although I will, as the pair of them will justify, back me up, was when I walked out the film, I was in a happier place than they were. But I have issues with it. But every time I watch it, the better it gets, the more I love it. It definitely is one of those films that the first time you watch it, it's a punch. You need to go back and see it a second time to take everything in. However, absolutely loved it. And it's the ending to the Skywalker saga. It's the ending to this first era of Disney. It's the ending of an era in a lot of ways, connecting back to 42 years worth of films. And I think JJ has done an incredible job with ending the film in the difficult circumstances he had to end it in, and I applaud him for that. And I cannot wait to go back and watch it again, and I can't wait to continue watching it. And the other note is, I'm going to say, gentlemen, it was an absolute pleasure seeing you both and watching that film with you. It's been a close to the first 3 years of Ones the Force. We ain't going anywhere. We're coming back. We've got more to do, but this was a really nice way for us to all reconnect and see each other. We talk to each other daily, but this was fun. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for that. That was fantastic to see you both. And anyway, so those are our final closing thoughts. All that's left to me is to say thank you so much to everyone who's watched tonight. All the comments, we always appreciate it. For everyone who watches the videos back, who listens to it all, thank you so much. We're going on our winter break now. We will see you all next year, next decade, whatever you want to say, whatever dad humor you want, but we will see you soon. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Once the Force of Stars Podcast, at the Force Podcast. You can find the video for this later back on our YouTube and Facebook pages, and the audio, of course, is on our Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, and iTunes. You can find our merchandise in the link down below at the TeePublic store. Just search OWTF. So we've been Once the Force. May the Force be with you. Good night. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.